whatever everybody else is doing, I want to run the opposite direction.
It's okay.
And I've seen so many
oversaturated.
Yeah, I just feel like the effort, sadly, is not there for it. And I want. This is the question, right?
It'll be an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay. The question is like, where do you put your time at, and where do you put your energy at, and what are you doing it for? And I thought that, I really enjoyed it. I would go to these things. At first, I sucked, honestly. Like, just even before going there, my mindset would be so nervous and so nerve-wracking to, like, sit in front of 2 cameras and ask people questions. And I eventually started to get over that. But, yeah, I just don't think it's, sadly, what I don't want to put my time there. So, and
if you don't mind me asking, why did you... Right. So I'm over here with Tanner Walters, who's a dear friend, one of the first friends I've made here in Austin, Texas. Thanks for listening to the show. We're talking about his podcast, and I hope you don't mind me saying that. But I was a guest on your podcast, one of the first few guests, and I've stopped, right, myself. So I'm bringing it back, and I'm ready to take it full time. Blah blah blah. Why did you start a podcast, or why did you think that you had to? Did you feel compelled? Like, it's good that you kind of when to go with something.
Yeah.
But I mean. Why not ask yourself, and I'm curious because this is the way I reverse engineer things, like, how can I do this where it's enjoyable? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you're like, I tried it, not for me, don't dig it.
No, I think I dug it. I think I enjoyed it. I think that the beginning, the motivation was I got so much value out of podcasts that I thought it was only right to try to do the same for other people.
Yeah.
And the mission behind it was called The Creator's Journey, and it was to document people's journeys. And as I was doing it, I just felt that, I was trying too hard. It wasn't right. I wasn't doing what I actually wanted to do, like just have a conversation. I was trying to force certain things a certain way. And it took the joy out of it for me. At the time, I had a lot of outside factors going on in my life too, which doesn't make things easy. It doesn't make things like, just edit this, throw it out there, and it's done. So yeah, just the timing of things, the motivation to do it, and seeing what other people were doing, just it kind of got me like, like I'm gonna back away a little bit and see what's going on. And but it's a struggle because I haven't really been producing my own stuff lately, and it's I've been through, since we've talked last time, it's just a personal journey that has, developed me, but it's taken a toll to an extent too. So, yeah, the podcast, catching up right here, but the podcast, just.
So I'm a fan of you, and that's a bummer to hear. And it's not fair to me, your listener, because I never saw them. I never saw any of them. Mm-hmm. So you didn't get the feedback. You didn't get the reward. You didn't get the dopamine hit. You know what I mean? So you don't know the impact that you would have made. You don't know yet. Like, somebody saw it and they're like, hey, I want to be a guest on the show. And then that had an impact on you, or maybe that created a business connection or something like that. So like the whole process for me anyways has been, and there's not one way, there's only your way, right? So take this with a grain of salt. But for me, it's like the feedback is data that I need to know, did this work or not? Because even if I like it, but it didn't work, I'm not going to take time to do that. Not because I need the adulation or the respect or the response, but just because I want to connect with people, and I want to bring them flowers to the door. I want to bring them music that they want to listen to. If they don't like it, I don't want to alienate them. I kind of went through that phase already, where I would make transgressive material that people are like, this is a challenge to watch. Why am I doing this? And I'm like, because I want to test you. But I'm over that. Like, I did that. But I think you owe it to yourself to put that stuff out there and chop it up into micro content and share it, and maybe even target some people that you want to be like, did you see that? I did that. Because quite honestly, just being like, hey, I've produced 100 podcasts can get you the phone call that you need to make one day. It can get you the connection. Yeah. It gives you the guts to say, not that you need that because you're kind of a master at this and I respect you so much about it, but it gives you almost the authority or the alibi to go up to someone and say, hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to be on it?
Yeah.
That's tremendous. And so let's reverse engineer that, if you don't mind me asking. this whole podcast that I'm doing, I personally just want to talk to creatives. I want to talk to people that I find fascinating, but to creatives as well, because that's all I can talk about. Like, we can talk about golf, but it's just going to be crickets on my end. So this is my universe, and this is all I know. But I want to know, I know where you've been personally, but as far as where you're at today, I've been wrestling with this personally. I've realized, dude, I'm not all those vloggers that you see. I'm not a Sam Colder.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I'm not the guy with the abs that does the backflips off the Grand Canyon. Like, I don't want to be that guy, and I'm also not that guy.
Yeah.
So therefore, the pressure and the anxiety of like, man, why aren't you like him? How come your transitions aren't like Cold's? Therefore, it's like, well, let me reevaluate that, because it's a farce. So I have to remind myself, well, what am I about? What do I do? Oh yeah, Knives, you're this guy. So make that. Like, I don't want to be Buzz Lightyear. I'm Woody. I got the pull string. There's a snake in my boots. So that's my truth. I'm going to be that. It's so easy to forget who you are along the way. So where you're at right now, it's a big question, but do you still consider yourself a creative? Do you still consider yourself a video designer? Not that it matters, but maybe it does. I don't know if you identify with that. I think you're bigger than that. Obviously, you're a unique individual. I'm not saying this stuff defines you, but just because, from one genius to another, I want to know what's stimulating you right now. I want to know what the roadblocks are. So fill me in.
So, one thing I've been thinking about lately is everybody has a voice, and what separates the people that get heard versus the people that don't get heard. And, because there's a lot of voices out there right now. And, it's not a bad thing, I don't think, but in the past, I feel like you've always had certain people have more authority, or people look up to those people more. And, and that comes with doing things, comes with time, the time outside of like, in the society and what clicks with people. And, so I've been thinking about that a lot lately, just in my own life and what direction I want to take. And, that comparison game has definitely
fucked with your self-esteem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's designed to do so.
Yeah.
So, mutual friend Trent Knox had his own podcast. He had me on it. I did it, and I remember we were talking, and he was
post mutual friend.
More later, okay, more later, and he's a jagged little pill for sure. And I remember our podcast was halted to a stop, because he was talking about this sort of like anxiety as well. He's like, I don't have the blue check mark on Instagram, so therefore like I don't feel like worthy of something. And it's like, well, let's reevaluate this, because you have to remember that ads have infiltrated all these creative spaces that we normally seek refuge in, that we want to escape from. And these ads are designed to make you feel like you're empty, because these products are supposed to be the things that fulfill you. And you need to remember that you're already verified in the eyes of God, or whatever you believe in. You're already valid enough as a person. So don't fall into that trap, right? And it's a trapping, and we all fall into it, because we're all connected and we're all consuming. So I bring that up, and I feel like it's relevant. I'm not going to tell you how to feel, but just like, reevaluate and reassess, like, where is this voice coming from? Because I don't think it's you. One time I took a bite into a Krispy Kreme donut, and I swear to God, I heard demons.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I heard this voice. I was at my mom's house, and I went like 45 days without sugar. I was like, you know what? I deserve this. And I took a bite into a Krispy Kreme donut, and before I'd even swallowed it, just the sugar, I can feel my brain chemistry swirling like a cauldron and like a blender. And I heard these voices tell me, you know what? You should take your fucking dick out right now and jack off. I was like, what? Like, why would I? What a weird primal instinct. And then I remember I took my note app out on my phone, and I wrote down, when you abuse your indulgence, you lose yourself. And it was like, this sugar and all this stuff is like, it's not the Knives Monroe voice. It's this alternative frequency that's like the ego or the id or something, and it wants what it wants. It needs to be fed, but it's not me. It's not the real me. So that was in 2015, and it kind of, I also dropped acid in 2013, and that, I heard that voice there too, and I had to be like, oh, like, I can't trust that voice. Like, that's the ego, and it wants what it wants. It needs to be fed. Like, that's not the real me. Yeah. Oh shit, that voice is the cause of all my suffering. You know what I mean? And so we've had like these kind of deep conversations before, And I have so much love for you. Like the first time I met you, I was like, this kid, sorry, not like not like you little boy, like not like that, but like this kid. And I say that because you're so young. I was like, I was not where he was at that age. So this guy's like a light year ahead. Like, can you imagine where Tanner will be 5 years from now? So I don't want you to fall for that trapping, because in a way I'm like, this guy's too good for that.
Yeah,
you know
I appreciate
what I mean?
that. Yeah.
And I mean it.
Yeah.
You're too good for that, bro.
Yeah.
You got it all. You have everything, man. You have it all.
Yeah.
Like, you exist in the best fucking time, like to drop anything. Like, you picked a great time to activate and decide, I want to do this, you know? So where is that coming from?
I couldn't tell you, honestly. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure that out. And, you know, going on that journey is very, I've stopped putting out, and I've went in and tried to figure that out. And that's a dark place sometimes too. Like, it's like you just don't have the motivation to like go out there and do the things that you wanted to do. And sometimes I think I had this idealized, I had such a big, and I still do, but like I had such a grandiose vision of how things are, and when you get there, they're going to be a certain way. But, you know, I experienced that, you know, everything's not as good as it seems. And that kind of, the motivation to go do those things, it got lost in there. And I stepped back to say, what is it that I really want out of this? Like, what is it that I really want my life to be like, to an extent? And
is that hard to answer? Granted, it sounds like, I think every so often we got to ask ourselves that, right? Because sometimes we get there and we say, well, what's next? You know, I want the next thing. Yeah. So you're going to ask yourself that forever. But right now, do you have a ballpark
of where I want to go?
Sure. A trajectory, maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
this is part of your hero's journey.
Yeah.
It is.
For sure. I mean, I've been working on creators.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's still there. Like, it's still in my mind, and it's still something I'm passionate about, but I'm trying to figure out how can I be a little different, and how can I fit in at the same time. And so I've been working on that, been working on developing a fanny pack. So that's where I'm going to go with that. This is the first product. And I just want to give back with that to people that maybe don't have the privilege like I did to create things. And so there's a motivation in there, but just getting that started, the daunting task of thinking about doing it, sometimes gets me down. But it's also all about who you're around too. And I think that I've been learning that so much more lately, that I might be better off alone to an extent in my space sometimes, to, you know, I don't get the energy of somebody else, and like them not being as energized as I am about a certain project or a certain topic. And that's hard. So, yeah, I forget
let me just say that where you're at right now it's so weird. Like, like, perception is reality, right? So I look at your life on Instagram and I'm like, this guy is grinding, he's hustling, he's meeting all these interesting people, he looks happy, right? You're presenting your best self after all. And so, but I fall for it because also I'm projecting, that's what I want. Like, I want to see that. I want to see that you're doing that. But what you're talking about is not completely antithetical to that, but it's something that nobody wants to show. And it's so honest and it's so truthful. And it's so great to hear. And I'll tell you why, because I'm relating to it. Like, that is what my content has been about lately, because that's my truth right now. And it's also not, when you look around, it's not what you see on Instagram. So therefore I think it can stand out, and I think it can connect. And it's not what you see on YouTube. So therefore the same thing, in my opinion. So where you're at right now, like, needs to be broadcasted, in my opinion. It needs to be shared. What you're talking about is so honest and so truthful and so relatable. Like, just know that it doesn't make you an outsider. It doesn't make you an outlier in a negative sense. It actually makes you even more human and relatable. And I think people need to see that that side if you're willing to share that side, because that's true authenticity, that's true vulnerability. And I encourage you to tap into that, because there's magic there.
Yeah,
there really is. Like, you need to be daydreaming about like a better reality. That's the nucleus of creativity. You know what I mean? So I encourage you to tap into that. I think you'll look back and be like, man, when I was down, that's how I came up again.
Yeah.
That's crucial.
Yeah. No, and I feel like I've been through this before in my life. I had a girlfriend in high school, broke up my sophomore year of college for 4 years. And like after that, I just didn't have the motivation, but that's when I started reading. That's when I started to look inward at who I am and what I want. And it was a great, I look back on it, and even though it was such a like down period, it sparked something else. So like, I'm in it right now. I feel like coming out of it, I have my days, just like everybody.
Exactly.
And I'm excited for when I figure that spark out again, because in my life I've always been, if I want something, like I'll do anything that I can to go after that. And but when you don't necessarily have that thing that you're shooting for, like, dude, I went and I've been on an interview with the former CEO of Keller Williams. I just shot with him earlier this week.
That's so cool.
I shot with John Paul Mitchell, a billionaire.
Cool. Yeah.
I shot with Lance, but it's shaped my perspective a little different. Like, it's not as important as what you think that is. Like, that's literally just such a, I don't know. It just comes with the nature of what they do. And money is not really where it's at, because you could have all of it. Like, you could have all of that and still not necessarily know what you want, And so being around these people of like, that society puts on a pedestal.
That's right.
And the God complex thing is really like bad. And
certainly.
And but it also, I think that I was watching this movie last night, and it was on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it was talking about like computers taking over, and this guy basically put himself in the simulation. Transcendence, that's what it was called. And
Johnny Depp.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And he was like, don't we all want to become our own gods? Or like, don't we all want to become gods? And I think that it's very important to have that mystical figure in your head to go off of. But when you don't have that necessarily, you lose who you are and what you want to become. I've been reading a lot of Carl Jung lately, and he believes that in mythologies and how important they are. Just, we need them because we need something like that to, believe in. And so I'm going off on a tangent here, but I love it. Yeah, I think I
love it. To me, I feel like that's like that's a masculine, not obligation, but almost burden that men put on themselves. You know what I mean? Like, we're comparing ourselves to other men. We're comparing our dicks. We're saying, do I have this? Is this enough? But we also need like a wolf that has been through some wars that we can apprentice after to be like, teach us. Like, we need the mythology. We need the stories, right? For some people it's Jesus, so like it's quote unquote easier for them because they have a template, a model, and so we do need that model, right? And I think that's like a masculine thing. Like, I think women operate from a different center. I don't think they're as like ego driven as we are in terms of me. Like, I need to figure this out. I want to be the quarterback. I want to be the whatever. I think they operate from a different place, and I just bring that out there because when we say we, I think we mean men like us. To be honest.
I mean, that's who I can relate to.
And I just want to make that distinction, not because I give a fuck what anybody thinks, but just because I'm a little bit confused about like, women and where they come from. I also don't truly care because I'm not talking at them. Yeah. I just want, here's insight on us. And like, it's a masculine struggle, and that's the word I was looking for. And it's kind of hard to ask for sympathy from anybody to be like, oh, the poor masculine struggle, no one's going to care. But at the same time, it's this existential crisis of like, where do I want to go? Who am I? Where do I fit in? Am I an alpha? Am I a beta? Am I, a king, or am I a pawn, or what am I? Do I care? Do I want to sit this one out? Do I want to be on the bench but still get a ring? Like, what? It's all these questions, and at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's a quest for validation. And for some people, the Ferrari is that, and for some people the house is that.
For sure.
What is that for you? I want to know, because we had a conversation a few months ago, and it's been the only thing that's been somewhat of a rock in my shoe when it's come to us, just because I was like, Tanner, I wholeheartedly disagree with this.
Yeah.
I had said, what's like, we all want financial independence, let's be real, but I said, what is that figure for you?
Yeah.
And you dropped a huge figure, and I was like, so 1 million under that, it's not good enough for you? Like, you need that? And you're like, yeah.
Well, I
said, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
Wow. Like, I on the other hand, I believe, like, after a certain amount of money, you're not going to be happier.
Yeah.
The figure, cool, like, your family's fed, but after a while, like, I don't think it adds inches to your dick. I'm not saying that you believe that, but, you know, what is, like, what is that metric for you nowadays? Has that changed since our last time we've talked about that?
Definitely.
I'm surprised that you got that perspective from these billionaires, and you're like,
yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
I mean,
but I'm kind of surprised that you felt that way.
I think that at a time I was in a different, I was hungry. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna eat. Like, I don't know where my thing is. So whatever I want, like what I want the most, and but I have a job, and like I get an income. I don't necessarily have to worry about, where I'm going to make my next money. Currently, yeah. I don't have that fear.
Well, congratulations, because that's definitely something that you wanted.
For sure.
I'm happy that you achieved that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I am.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Definitely didn't come from somebody giving you a handout.
No. Yeah. I mean, I'm making my income off of something that I went out and did myself. Like, I didn't have anybody, now my parents, they helped me out, know, then they helped me have a computer. They helped me have a camera. That's huge.
That's huge. Sure.
So big. And I know without that, I probably wouldn't be here.
I disagree. I think you would have figured it out.
Maybe.
I think you would have sold your car, or you would have mowed lawns, and I think you would have figured it out.
Yeah, probably.
But if I had an aunt who loaned me $7,000 to make my second film. Mm-hmm. I paid her back $8,000, and I'm proud to say that. But I asked her. That's a privilege.
Yeah.
My aunt who was my next door neighbor, had the money to do that, and so I've never said that publicly. Holy shit! So that's a first. Eat it, guys. But that's a privilege. That's a privilege.
Yeah.
But if you would have said no, I would have found it another way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm in a mode of figuring it out. Can't say that I really know. Can't say that I really, have these drives that I used to have. And it's weird because I've always been such a, driven person. So on.
Do you think it's a seasonal thing?
Possibly. I think it is. I mean, you go through the periods, and and I might be in that, and I'm okay with it though, because the year and a half up before that, dude, it was an exponential curve that I could have never imagined.
That's great.
But waves. You gotta.
That's right.
You have to come down at some point. And
do you still work out?
Yeah.
Do you go to the gym?
Yes.
Do you go hard?
I stopped that.
You stopped that recently?
I did for a little bit. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped caring as much about that, because I was so identified with it to a certain extent. And I don't like, this is weird, right? I don't like being, boxed in, identified as this is what I am. And I hate that so much, even though it's like very necessary.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, true.
You're one of the guys I point to when, like, you've opened my eyes in that I always thought that people were like, cool, you're the stand-up, you're the guitarist, you're the rapper, you wear the straw hat, you're the army guy, I used to kind of look at people in boxes.
Yeah. And
then you meet more people like you, even though there's not that many, of like, wow, this guy, well, he can do it all. He can fit, he'll fit in any glove, he could.
I pride myself on that, honestly.
And that's fucking cool. And I envy that to an extent, to a healthy extent of like, I couldn't do that, like I get it in over my head with things, and I'm like, not for me. And I'm like, I don't do that. I have a very narrow lane. And I think that's why I've achieved the success that I have, because I've just put all my energy in one thing. But I think it's tremendous that you have body build, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I used to race dirt bikes.
You used to race dirt bikes. You were a salesperson.
Yeah.
You're a content creator now. You are starting your own business.
I work construction. I mean, I poured concrete, you know, like I've worked at Quiznos. That was my first job. Like Quiznos
sandwiches.
Yeah, sandwiches.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I think you should take pride in that.
Yeah.
You don't worry about being boxed in. Fuck all that. Like, if I could be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, like I've been very like, I don't want to say, as a matter of fact, I want to say the exact opposite of like woke, but I've just been very alert. Tony Robbins will call it a sensory acuity. So I've been very acute about the programming all around me. And I'm very nonconformist, sort of contrarian when it comes to what somebody or something or an entity is telling me that I need to do, feel, see, act, or think. Like, I don't want, fuck you. Like, I just want to figure it out. Like, I want to feel it. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. You know what I mean? Like, so I that's why I'm so passionate about, man, fuck wherever this is coming from, that, you know, I need to be this, that, or the third. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the outliers, and there's a book I haven't read about that, and I'm interested in. Okay. So then if you look at these outliers, they can't be bred. They can't be programmed. Like, a lot of it's circumstantial and
it's so
lucky. And a lot of it's like, well, he happened to be like down the block of that or whatever. So like, be mindful of your background or surrounding, where you came from, and embrace that, because there's strength and power with who you are.
Yeah.
Not with who you should be or what you shouldn't be or what. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Fuck all of that. Fuck it all up the ass, because it's counter programming designed to make you buy something to feel full. But you're already whole, man.
Yeah.
You are.
Definitely.
For sure. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
There's a giant inside of you at all fucking times. And it's up to you. It's up to you to turn that switch on.
It's in everybody.
It's in every human.
Yeah.
It truly is.
But it's hard to find.
And you've resurrected it a few times. So you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, so you talked about, you know, you did acid in 2013 or whatever, and you know, I've had my bouts, and I had one in you know, I think it was May or June, and that's when I decided to get this tattoo.
Do you mind saying what you...
It was acid. I
Okay.
mean, LSD.
Cool.
And it was just at a little half tab. And so that I was in acting class at the time, and I was really having this tough time of breaking out. Like, just, I feel like I've shut emotions down for so long that acting was very hard for me. Because I was like, you feel that? I don't feel it. Like,
is that true? That you didn't feel that? Were those,
I didn't allow myself to feel it.
But they're there inside you?
Oh yeah.
Those emotions?
I think I don't feel them as much as some people do. I'm very you know, it is what it is.
Sure.
I mean, like, this is how it looks, or this is how it is, and you just got to deal with it. Because I just feel like sometimes emotions don't serve you the best. Sometimes they serve you well, but other times it's just like, you're letting yourself get too out of balance.
Sure.
So, and the stoicism aspect,
does that come naturally to you?
I think I've developed it because I think when I was, a lot of it had to do when I was in that time of, with my girlfriend or whatever. And I was like, you know, just shut out these feelings because they're not serving you. You're literally, you know, down about something that's not really good for you. And, but I mean, I'm not like, I like that all the time, you know, obviously. So yeah, I was in acting at the time and took that drug and had this real like awakening. I was like, wow, like you can literally, fear is the only thing like stopping you from anything. Cause I was on the rocks at 360 with my friend, and he wouldn't even come out to the corner. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you scared of? Like, and I was so in it. And that whole night, you know, I could see things so clearly about it, and acting really helped that. And I could see how I was acting and how people act and all this stuff. And
Act. That's the word. Like,
yeah.
How it's like it's an artifice, it's a projection, it's a mask, it's a performance for sure. That's cool. And sometimes like acid will be one thing that you could take to be like, I see through the lens of truth, and I realize that this is a performance, and I spend so much energy putting on that act. So like I just wanted to highlight that. That's so incredibly true.
And I mean, you get, I'm acting like I'm sad sometimes. I'm acting like I'm this way, but it is all such you are who you are. That's what makes you. That's what makes your character. But during that time, I just was like, I can accomplish anything. Literally, if I just put my mind to it, like I can do it. And because maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe there's a lot that goes into making you. Because at the time I wanted to be this person, right? This person that people looked up to an extent, and I don't know necessarily where that came from.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, okay. I forget, I lost my train of thought.
So like through the lens of like acid, you're like, wow, I'm trying to act like I aspire to be like a Tim Ferriss-esque type person. So you put that expectation on yourself.
For sure. And then but sometimes I disassociate with who I am. That may sound
who you really are.
That's the thing, figuring that out. So
when you say am, I know we're getting very heady here for the listeners, but I think they can handle it. When you say am, like in which tense are you referring? Because there's like, I've heard like there's 3 yous. There's who you think you are, who you actually are, and then there's how people see you.
Yeah.
So which one's like really you? It's all a matter of in which vantage point you're looking at. So when you say the real you, or I said that, but when you say who you really are, what do you think that is? Who do you think that is? And why is it so complicated to know?
I think that you've just been told so many things throughout your life, your parents. I think the only thing in life that you get, I've always wanted to say this on camera. The one thing you get lucky about in life is your parents. I think everything after that is pretty much, kind of. I would say it's kind of set for you, but you can make differences along the way. But
let me just say that is going to be the title of this episode. But that's also that's a huge thesis, like because. As a parent, like I'm my mom. I turned into my mom, and I'm so grateful because, Claire, my wife, asked me. She's like, "What do you think about that? Like, you're your mom. How do you think about that?" And I'm like, her name's Tommy, and I said, "I think I'm a good Tommy. Like, I'm a good version of her. And if I didn't have her, like, holy fucking shit balls, I would not be here. I wouldn't be doing what I want to do. I certainly, and I am so grateful for her, that human." I was just saying this about my kids. Like, I'm so grateful to be their parents. Like, I have the pleasure to be their parents. So that's a huge thing, man. Like, how did you say it again?
The only thing you get lucky about in life is your parents, and because that sets your direction for literally so much, and it's that's a lot of pressure on the person that's raising you. But I think as long as a parent gives their child the opportunity to see different things, have an open mind, and understand where they're coming from, like after that's a good way to bring somebody up. But I'm still like far away from that. Hopefully,
I'm sure one day.
Yeah, I mean,
10 years from now.
That's what I've thought about lately too. Like, dang, that's got to be such a good feeling. Like, you get to like literally help someone become something. And
it's the fucking best.
Yeah.
Let me say something I've never said on camera.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this because I was away from my kids. I was in Washington, D.C. for about 4 days. Not a long time, but I realized, I was invited to go to this gala and dress in a tux and like hang out with all these billionaires. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go chill in my hotel room. I'm like, why? Why do you want to be a party pooper? And I'm like, the truth is, like, I just want to be on my couch with my family right now. That's all. Like, I only care about them. And I was like, wow, I meant that, And I was thinking, I told Claire that, and she was like, well, that's a good father. Like, you're a good dad to feel that way. And I was like, good dad. It's not like that was automatic. Like, I just got lucky. Like, I got lucky. Like what you said about who our parents are, I got lucky that my kids aren't shitheads. Like, I got lucky that I loved them. And I remember I was thinking, because, when you're away with all this stuff in the news, what's going on in California, and I remember like the wildfires were happening, and like this shooting happened, and all this stuff was happening all at once in California. And it just made me be like, wow, like, I if something happened to my kids, I'll tell you this, the next day I'm out. I'm out. Like, my last words would be, I'm sorry, God, and I'm out. And it's a real scary reality. And I can recall when my daughter was born, seeing her like crying. And I remember telling her, I knew, we named her when she was in the womb, and I said, Fiona, like, I'm here. And she just stopped crying, and she opened her eyes. And I think all doctors say, like, they never open their eyes. I think they're just bullshitting. But my doctor was like, wow, that she opened her eyes. She recognized your voice. And and in that moment, just making eye contact with her, knowing that she couldn't see far, in that moment, I was like, the clock is ticking. Like, she's born, but now she can die. And that set like such a, like, it's a beautiful feeling of like, wow, like, it's a positive pressure of like, you have all this love, and they love you, and they care about you, and you care about them. But also it puts a lot of pressure because they're your world. So everything revolves around them. It's not about you anymore. In a way, that's kind of like this freedom. It's like, there's no burden of like, what do people think about me? It's like, well, I just give a shit about these kids. So like, that's a good thing, but also it's really scary because, a real apocalypse is like if something happens to your child. That's a real apocalypse. You know what I mean? So that's so. And guess what? Like on this planet and in this country, like it happens to people where their worlds are taken away from them. So it's really, really scary. And I've never told anybody about when Fiona was born, because I don't really talk about those kinds of things. So thanks for triggering me in that regard. Something I wanted to talk about before it. What
are we at?
It leaves me. We're at 36. So
okay,
we're good.
Okay.
And I thought about this about you because of our heroes and like the people who motivate us or our mentors in a way. In a parasocial sense, in that we don't know like the Gary V's, but we connect with them or whatever. And I feel like right now, because of the internet and because of the democratization of direct-to-consumer platforms like PayPal and Instagram, now we see like the Gary V's and the Tony Robbins and the Tim Ferrisses, and the list goes on and on. Now we see these people, and I feel like they're the new rock stars. And so everybody wants to be the rock star. Everybody wants to be like, when we saw Logic, at the same time, but not together, when we saw Logic, like, didn't you feel like, wow, I want to be the guy on stage that's like in control of like these tens of thousands of people? Didn't you feel like, yeah, that'd be so cool? Like, you're living vicariously through that alpha. And I feel like we're all attracted to that. And so one thing I noticed about you was just like, wow, like he wants that. Like, he wants that. And it's in his grasp to be like, I want to be that rock star. I'm using that word, but like, I want to be that influencer. I want to be the one that makes that impact, like a Tom Bilyeu, right?
Yeah.
Did I say his name right?
Yeah, he's definitely one of the guys that.
He's one of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta be careful.
Do you still feel like I want to be that?
I don't know.
But you did.
I did. I felt it, and
what changed?
I think that it's very unattractive to me to an extent. I had this thing with Gary, honestly, and like I think he's done so much good, but there's always two sides to every coin, and like and just it's such a big responsibility, and what is affecting having people look up to you like that. And inside of that, like, it's like, that's the problem right there. That's the problem. People looking up to you, but you got to have it. And trying to, I don't want to try to necessarily be, I keep saying that. I don't want to be something or have to put effort to try to get people to look up to me. And I see a lot of people, do that, and I don't want to do that. And
respect. And I respect that.
Yeah, I mean,
I really do.
But you have to accept the fact that, okay, you may not be that person then. The person that you think that you want to be, those don't line up.
But that also might not even be your dreams.
Exactly.
Those aren't your dreams.
Exactly.
So don't feel bad for not having those dreams or wanting to be that.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Like, I was talking to my mom last night. I texted her, and she said that my dad was going to work at midnight. My dad's like almost 50 years old. He works construction. Like, always been a hard worker. And he's going to work at midnight, and he's going to work till midnight till 10. And my dad's 50 years old almost. I'm like, damn, like this dude, like I see.
What a baller.
Yeah. Like, it's like, wow, I don't want him to do that, you know? And like, he's given me so much, you know? Like, I might tear up here for a second, but that's like a real hard spot for me, my dad or whatever. But
you feel this obligation of like, I want to help him in a way where he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
If he wants to, fine, that's on you, Dad, but you don't have to because you're not struggling, okay?
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of
very admirable place to come from. Not many people look back and give a shit about their parents.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough though, dude. It's really tough. But you know, I think that's where a lot of the drive has been put into me from him. And you know, when I turned 18, I've always said that like my dream car is an Audi R8. Like, it still is. I would love to have like these things, right? But you know, he's always been like, he took me to drive one. He let me, like, he was like, I hope this like motivates you to go do things, you know?
That's good. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So I've had like that influence, but I've sort of like, you know, changed as a person through experience, and like those things necessarily aren't important to me anymore. And I'm starting to realize like what's really important is just who you're around, and you know, how they make you feel, and if you can be yourself around them. And
yes.
And that's hard to do too, is be yourself and, you know, really open up to people. And
man, thank you so much for being so honest. I can't believe you're saying this. Like,
yeah.
This is like P. Diddy being like, man, shit is so fucking hard, man. I'm stressed out, man. I'm so stressed out. Like, it's like, you aren't supposed to say that. Like, why?
Yeah.
I would have never thought. But I'm happy to hear that, because it's been on my mind too, you know? But that's why I have to call out this programming, because it's fucking bullshit. Like, don't control my thoughts and tell me like you're not good enough, or you're not this guy enough, or how come you're not at here already? This person was at here when they were 24. Or why are you still there? And it's like, everybody has a different trajectory.
The culture impacts that so much. Like, I think everything that you listen to, everything that you see, your environment affects you so much. And even though I love rap music, I think that it's one of the worst things to
I've been hearing this too.
I think it's one of the worst. I love it though. I love rap music. Like, I mean, but I think it's just so bad on how people perceive it. And
because it's very depending on what you're listening to, but it's very like, look at me.
Exactly. Sure. And so deep inside of me, maybe this is that man thing. Like, I get like, like, I don't like that you're speaking to me like that. You know what I mean? I don't like that you're talking to me saying all this stuff.
I'm below you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, really? Like, are you? And that's why I don't really like, you know, I have my artists that I listen to. And outside of that, you know, I probably don't listen to much of anything else, because it matters. And like, I like people that, you know, give you a empowering message. And but sometimes like I also see that, you know, there's a hidden agenda behind that message too. So you just have to be like, you know, it is what it is.
Absolutely.
But as long as it benefits people, I don't really care. Like, I don't even care. So
I have this. Everybody has like their Stone Cold Steve Austin like catchphrases. Like, here's my 25 quintessential blah 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 core value of my. You know, everybody has that. And I have one too, but I like to think it's very simple and not original. Like, I it's just something that I believe is the thing, and I really want to stress it for the listeners and for you, because sometimes we forget. To me, like the codes to success, to self-esteem, to understanding who you are, to achieving your dreams, whatever it is, to me it's know yourself, trust yourself, be yourself. And know, trust, and be are different actionable applications. Knowing yourself is the hardest because you have to know who you are, and that's a discovery process. That's a let me figure that out. Sometimes that's a journey. Some people, the journeys are cut short and they don't have time to figure that out, and so that's the story of them. Trusting yourself to me is once you know who you are, can you go all in on that? Like that's scary because that's a lot of like, here's what I am, take it or leave it. And then being yourself is waking up and living your truth no matter how you feel, whether if it's a good day, bad day, winter, fall, summer, whatever, spring, being yourself and showing up because that's what a man does. Fill in the blank. Know yourself, trust yourself, be yourself to me is like the thing. And if I have any modicum of success, it's because even to spite myself, like I knew who I was, I trusted it, and I did it. Even if I was like, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people along the way, or even if people, I'm like, sorry that you think this is whack, but this is me. And it got me to where I am. And if I faked it, and if I was trying to be like somebody else, or if I was copying somebody else or something else, or living somebody else's fantasy, being plugged into somebody else's simulation, like I think I wouldn't have, this wouldn't have happened. And so it starts there, you know, knowing who you are, figuring that out, and knowing like that might take 10 years and that's cool. Have fun along the way. Collect stories, peoples, and journeys, and document that if you care to look back and share it, and then trust it, and then just do that, and that's where the fucking magic is.
Yeah.
I mean, I die for that belief. I really believe it. And I encourage you to do that. And I love when we get together because, you know, it's always for me, like it fills my spiritual tank up because I'm like, Tanner is so young and so wise and so smart and willing to risk shit. And I just believe in him. And I want to be there when he's like, I did it. Like whatever that big thing is for you, chop down a tree, whatever it is. Like I want to be there and be like, fuck yeah, that is fucking cool because I saw your climb, not the whole thing, but I love the climb. And once you achieve that thing, you're going to look back and be like, it was all about that climb, though. Climb was what it was really about. And it's always about the journey, not the destination. It sounds so cliche, but when you talk to the Lance Armstrongs and guys like that, you realize, like, they're not after a big prize. Like, they're just trying to live every day in what Tony Robbins would call a beautiful state. Like, just get after that state of mind of, like, this is where I like to be at this volume. So just find out what it is. And it's okay if it's not, and maybe it is, maybe it's not, because they're all just tools. Like cameras are tools, guitars are tools, microphones are tools. Like play with the instruments that you think will get you there. Maybe it's not video design.
No, for sure. And that's, you know, like you're saying play, and I think that's a huge, you know, word because, you know, without playing, you'll never really know what game you want to be involved in. So you got to play, like, I think it's important you play a couple different games and like, oh yeah, I like that game, I don't like this game, and this is the one that I actually want to specialize in, and making sure that no one's telling you that that's what you want to do is also important. And
for sure.
But, you know, like when you have the belief that you can do anything, that's probably not the best thing in that situation too, though. Like, because you don't do any, like, I'm finding myself in this place right now,
Tell
right?
me.
And this is just us talking, obviously. And I'm finding myself in this place of like, you know, I feel like I could do so much, but I'm not doing it. And it's like, damn, that's a bad spot to be in. That's when you start to slide down that path. You know what I'm saying?
What path?
The path of self disbelief and dissatisfaction in life, I would say. Not that I'm like, you know, I've never necessarily thought about like killing myself or anything, but I feel like it's important.
You're like, this is a downward slope.
Ooh, yeah. Like you got to be careful. You got to be careful with
that thought process, that thought pattern,
believing
that frame
you can do everything and then ending up not to do anything. And that's where you're specializing, I think, is very important to an extent. Like just making sure that you have that thing that you're, you know, good at and that you can always you can identify with it, and that's important. But it's also, you know, whatever you want in life. I've always had such big aspirations that it's like, and I'm growing up now, right? I've come out of the womb to an extent, and
a few times.
yeah, and being here and being around people that are successful, it's just an eye opener, and I see them
it's
as
not the same as double tapping to like on Instagram, is it? It's not the same as the simulation.
No,
in
you
real life.
get literally such a different. You're like, I see, that's what it is. Like,
and sometimes you're like, ew, no.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah,
we got to be there to know it, man.
Yeah,
because sometimes that might be your thing. You don't know. Just to the listeners, they don't know. Try it. Try it out.
That's why I think that, like, you know, I've been having this urge to go like do music lately. Like, it's something fun to me. It's something, I think that's the reason subconsciously that I got into videos, because I love putting visuals to the audio, you know, like,
100%.
And I feel like if I'm 23 and I didn't take that.
Every time you tell me your age, I feel like you just keep getting younger. Like, I could have sworn you were like 26, but now you're 23. Like, but when I met you, you were younger.
I was 22.
So it's like, fucking hell, man. Like, god damn, you're so young. It's amazing.
But I mean, even that time that we met, like I feel like this whole thing is me, you know, I feel like I found my voice for a second.
That's great.
But then I also questioned that voice.
Why?
I don't know.
Because you're naturally suspicious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, like, you got to look into that and make sure that it's really who you are and what you're about. And so I'm the voice. If expressing your voice is important, and that's, you know, like, it's so easy to do now that your voice is easily drowned out by a lot of other things. So, like, it's important not to, like, I think not to be like identified with that, you know, not find your self-worth wrapped up in that voice, but
And
yeah,
the feedback of it.
Yeah, the feedback, yeah, because there's so many factors that go into play in what makes you successful, or what makes you, you know, the people that get remembered, and you don't really necessarily control. You don't really control where. You can influence it, but the system, that's a system of events that's so vast that happens, and I think that it's 1 in a billion chances that you become that person, you know. And
I call it the rock star.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. And
all I ever wanted, ever since I was 15, was to be one of those guys. Like, whatever that is, like, not necessarily because like filmmakers are never like, you know, they never really swing their dick around. It wasn't about their lifestyle when I was growing up, and now I still don't think filmmakers get like the adoration. Like, I don't think it's like that. Like, there's like the Sam Colds that are like, look at my abs, like, that's cool, and I like that genre. Like, that's great. Like, I love that they're doing their thing. I don't think he's emulating anybody. He's just being himself. People are really after the being yourself part. That's why we like Biggie and we like Kendrick. They couldn't be any different, but they are being who they are.
Yeah.
They're not acting like Jay-Z because he's doing his thing. It's important to be yourself proudly, loudly, honestly. And it doesn't have to be consistently, but like just truthfully at your pace. That's the thing that I think is very stressful for a lot of people right now, is the pace at which people are pumping out volume of exposure. People think, wow, like, I'm not out there as much. You know, do you even care? Do you even want to be? Did you ever, like, you know, ask yourself, like, did you even want that? Like, you didn't know that you wanted something that wasn't on the menu until you were told it wasn't on the menu to begin with. Like, question that, you know, for sure. But I wanted to be one of those guys. Like, I wanted to be a guy that people are like, tell me about this thing that you made.
Yeah.
What went into that? Like, I was like, ooh, like, I want to make something that people care enough to want to talk about it. You know, that's why I'm doing a podcast. And that's why I want to put these out there, is because I really believe in the overall big picture. Like I really believe in that. I don't expect to get, I don't know what sort of
validation.
No, I don't really expect to get financial reward in the short term when it comes to the content that I make. I care about being able to present here. Here's my real estate. It's all this stuff. Can it get me through to the door of something else that I want to make that's at a bigger scale? You know, like it's climbing a mountain. Like I want to be able to produce a Netflix show one day. I still want to do that. I want to be able to produce a movie that people get to watch. Cool. If I do that because I have a rabid following of 200 people that fucking love me, but they're loud, and they can put up Knives Monroe flags where it can get seen, like that is fucking cool to me. Like I don't care about the numbers, like that those kind of metric stuff. Like I can see how, sorry Trent Knox, but I could see how the blue check mark on Instagram might mean something to you, but it, you know, it's a farce. It's a fucking farce to me, you know. I don't put any stock in that.
Yeah,
in terms of success or validation.
And holding a mirror up to yourself to really see who you are, and you know, accepting that to an extent. And to an extent, I don't want to say that anymore. I hate when people say to an extent or kind of. People, I've been watching a lot of people and they say kind of a lot or to an extent, and it's like, what is kind of?
Yeah. You know, I don't want to say, and I put a lot of filler. They're called schwas.
Yeah.
It's their. I just did it again. They're filler words to connect thoughts. And
yeah, I know.
I don't like them either.
And you can tell when people do that because they're not being themselves to an extent.
Sure.
See, I just did it right there. It's a thing, but
yeah.
No, I think, but even in what you're saying though, you said like 200 people with the Knives Monroe flag. Like, what? You know, I don't necessarily know that. I feel like that goes back into the God complex thing to an it goes back into the God complex thing because you're wanting people to look up to you, you know? What is it? I've been thinking about this while we're in this podcast. Like, you know, maybe the motivation for me is literally just to document it so I can see in 15 years, I can show this to my son or daughter and say, oh, look, like that was me back in the day, you know? And that's where the motivation may start to come from, is like, you know, I'm just like doing it for me just to do it and not necessarily caring about who watches it or where it goes, because I got caught up in that and it was very, you know, it was dissatisfying, I would say, is the term for it. So I don't know.
I can see that, you know. When I saw Kill Bill Volume 1, and it turns out, because I heard Logic's last record, it really had an impact on him too. And so I kind of felt like, oh, bro, I can relate to The Last Call. And I saw that movie and changed my life forever. And I realized I want to make that. I want to do that. And that feeling I had the first time I watched it was as big as finding God, was as big as seeing my daughter for the first time come out of a vagina and look into her eyes covered in placenta and blood and all this craziness. Like it's all on par. It's like this holy moment. The same as being on acid and being really woke and being like, holy shit, I'm the cause of my own suffering, these projections and all that. I therefore have an obligation as an artist to express my truth, to inspire people to change how they see themselves for the better right now. That's my mission. When people carry the Knives Monroe flag, they're carrying their flag. They're saying this shit not woke me up or anything like that, because I'm not a revolutionary, but that piece, you had the audacity, Knives, to be honest and truthful about something that people don't want to talk about. That encouraged me to be honest and truthful. And so fuck yeah. Like that like I don't mind being so pretentious to say, like, there's a message in what I want to make and I want it to connect with people so it can encourage them to feel better about themselves. That is huge. That doesn't, I don't need the people saying like, Knives, you changed my life. I want people to take an actionable and say, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
That's important. And at the end of the day, that's my mission is I ask God to help me out with enthusiasm, fun, knowledge, communication, so I can present a piece of art to someone so they can change the way that they feel about themselves for the better right now. That is all I can live for. I share that with my family, with my kids, with you, and I hope in some way, shape, or form that's what we're doing on this podcast. So as we're wrapping up here, man, we're hitting our mark. I know this is a cliche, but if you have a platform right now to tell people, hey, check this out, where do you want them to visit you, support your cause?
Well, building the platform is the tough part. But, I'm trying to build up this thing called Creators. I just wrote the mission statement down, and I kind of want to read it real quick, if that's okay.
I'd love that.
I really copied it off of Patagonia because they're like a very mission-based company and all of that. So follow us on Instagram at KREATERZ Creators. It's been a whirlwind of really figuring out where I wanted it to go, but I'm narrowing that down. It's just part of the process, and this is one thing that it feels passionate about me because I haven't given up on it yet. Like it's been 5 months since I've had the idea and started working on it. And I'm just trying to like narrow down where exactly it is that I can go. But I'm going to read you the mission statement here, maybe if my phone works. So our mission statement is to build the best products. Wait, let me restart that. Build the best products that help you cultivate the inspiration, information, and implementation process to fulfill your creative capabilities. Because I think that in order to become creative, you need inspiration from somebody else, which that's, what we might be doing, or the God complex. I'm going to contradict myself 100 times, but inspiration is the first step. Information, so you can go and figure out how to do that, and then actually implementing it is the process. And I want to make products that help other people do that, whether that's information, or whether that's actually like gear that you can actually use to become more creative in whatever you're doing. But what the whole idea of it right now is we're going to have the fanny pack is going to be developed, and it's going to be with a camera strap, which, this fanny pack is stuck. It's stable. You can't, if you want to change it out, you got to buy a whole nother fanny pack, whatever. You can't customize it like you could. I want to have a camera strap where you can undo it. You can put it on your camera. You can do all that different stuff. But
I would use that.
Yeah. So
I've been needing it and not to be whatever, but I got the 2 cameras, and so sometimes I'm like, where do I put this thing? So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I want to make different sizes. One that's small, one that's medium, and then one that's large that you can put across your chest. Like people do, or you can put it on your side. But I want it to be special. I want it to be for creators, and this is defining what a creator is has been really hard for me. Thinking about philosophically, because this is very philosophical, just like I am, and it's an extension of who I am, I think. And but I don't want to be the face of it. I just want to be like, okay, this is I want it to live on. And so yeah, that's what I've been working on. A portion of the proceeds were like, I want to figure this out. How to do it is just basically you have a creator of the month, they apply to be the scholarship or whatever, and your purchase, a certain percentage of it goes towards this person that needs this object to help them create, whether that's an iPad or a computer,
tripod or something.
Tripod, yes, simple things, but it's just a way to feed back into the thing of creativity, because I feel like a lot of people want they want to inspire you, they want to give you the information, but that implementation process, I don't know that there's much help out there for people, and I want to be that help for people. So that might completely change on how it's done. The fanny pack might not work, but I'm gonna try to see it out as long as I can, and I think I'm pretty aware of when I know when to quit and when to keep moving forward. So that's where I'm going right now. And in the future, there's an idea called Explore You that I really want to change the education system. So and it's already happening, but that's what I kind of want to do.
That's tremendous, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for driving all the way out here.
Yeah,
it was a trek.
Beautiful drive.
To come. It was, though. I have to tell people that to get them to come over here. It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy that. We're at the Flipside Canvas shop in Bee Caves, and you drove all the way out here to talk to me, and that means a lot. I just got some deja vu that this reminded me of the first Pipe Dream episode. And that's one of the coolest things that I've done this year. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for this, brother. And I hope you're one of those recurring guests.
Yeah,
because I'd love to have you on again, because I love our conversations. And this is one of the best podcasts I've ever done.
Hey.
And not to be a name dropper, but I've talked to a lot of cool people.
Yeah,
so
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you coming out here, man. We're going to do it again.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man.